Hey guys, and welcome back to another Brave 9 video. Finally, I'm able to record after like 1 week or so. I'm so sorry for keeping you guys waiting. I've always been wanting to make a video ever since a few days ago, but I've just been so busy. University stuff is going on as usual amidst the coronavirus thing, and I'm sure all of you guys know by now about that. If you don't, where have you been? So yeah, I'm not gonna waste any time. Let's go straight to the questions. Okay, we have a question from Physio PH. Guide on Novice Arena, please. Yep, I'll do that sometime. Skill definitions are confusing. Example is Hell. How is Hell different from Horan? Why can't Horan execute like Hell when skills are somehow the same? So I've prepared some browsers side by side so that we can look at that. Okay, so let's look at Hell's and Horan's skills side by side. But before that, let's just take a quick look at their stats. Obviously, when maxed out, Hell has higher attack than Horan by over 4 times. And that's understandable because Hell is a magician and Horan is a defender. And defenders usually have low attack, so that's one thing to take note of. Horan does have better HP than Hell when maxed. They're the same on defense. Hell is better on crit rate and on crit damage. And Horan has 5% more agility than Hell. So let's just keep this in mind as we go through the skills. So I'm guessing the most complicated thing that beginners struggle with is they look at these two skills and they're like, hey, that's like the same skill. And you're right, actually. These are the same skills, it's just that Hell has a slightly better modifier with attack times 175%, whereas Horan only has 150%. She also has 5% more attack than Horan, and this activates after normal attack. But you do have to take note that Horan's a defender, so this will apply to Horan right after she attacks, so that is going to start from turn 1. For Hell, it's going to start from turn 2 because she has to charge on the first turn. Horan also has this skill, which says that she will heal her HP by 50% of her max HP when the enemy dies. Hell also has a healing skill, but this is actually quite different because Hell gets this heal before getting normal attack, and what this means is that even if Hell has 1 HP and the enemy is attacking her, before she receives any sort of damage whatsoever, she actually heals herself first by 36% of max HP, so she will have 36% of her max HP when the enemy attacks her. Whereas Horan doesn't have that. Horan only heals when the enemy dies, attacking her, I believe. So if Horan had 1 HP, she's vulnerable and like someone deals 1 HP damage or more than 1 HP damage, obviously she's going to die. And the enemy does not die, then she's not going to get the heal. So that's quite a big difference that you have to take note of. On the stats enhancement side, Hell here gets an attack boost and a crit rate boost upon receiving the enemy's normal attack. Also gets a defense boost. So she gets 65% additional attack before getting normal attack. So before the enemy hits her, she's going to get this buff for 12 turns. It can be stacked as well, and same goes for crit rate, where she gets 35% crit rate before normal attack can be stacked. Defense is after getting normal attack, and this is something that Horan doesn't have at all. Actually, Horan doesn't have crit rate or defense boost, she only has an attack boost, but I'll get into that later. Hell also has this 65% defense boost after getting normal attack for 1 turn. For Horan though, all she gets on her stats enhancement is an agility before battle times 100% attack boost. It's probably good to note that this is not just a raw 100% attack boost like Hell. Hell has a raw 65% attack bonus, but Horan has to multiply this with her agility before battle. So agility is this stat over here, indicated by the boot icon. So she has a base 20%, so yeah, you have to multiply this 20% and whatever agility you can get her up to before the battle. So any agility boosts in the battle will not activate, It has to be before the battle, so they can only come from your runes, and whatever agility you have starting out there will then times 100% attack boost. She also gets reduced incoming damage times 150% this time, but again it's affected by her agility before battle. So Hell also has this reduced incoming damage, but hers is a flat 50% reduced incoming damage. Last but not least, we also have Taunt. So these are pretty much the same skills, except that Hell has a 12 turn Taunt, whereas Horan has 10 turns. And this happens after they attack, but this is where their class matters, because Horan is a defender, so she's going to get this taunt every single turn. As long as she's not silenced or anything like that, buff prohibited, she will be able to taunt at the end of every time she attacks. Whereas Hell only gets a taunt when she actually attacks, so that excludes when she's charging up in the first round and the third round and so on and so forth. She can only get the taunt when she attacks on the second round, fourth round, so on and so forth. So they're different in those aspects, even though they have the same skill here. Okay, so I found this campaign stage where I should be able to test it out. I have Serendia buffing Horan here, just to make sure her attack comes up a little bit and she'll be able to counter enemies. But otherwise, yeah, I'm just gonna swap that out with Hell later on, and we can compare the differences in how the battles pan out. So let's go ahead and attack. So I'm going to put this on 1x speed. So Horan finally moves here, and as you can see, she gets the taunt after she attacks. She reflex, deals that damage, and heals because the enemy is actually dying. As you will see here though, when the boss attacks her and the boss doesn't die, she does not heal. And that's because her heal only activates if the enemy attack her. She only heals if the enemy attacking her dies. Okay, so with Hell, I will show you two battles to illustrate her skills. First of all, I want to showcase how she doesn't get taunt until the second round, so that's why I'm placing her at the back. As you can see, enemies are going to attack Serendia first. Serendia's buffing Hell, and Hell has to charge up. So Hell doesn't actually attack, and therefore she does not get taunt, and enemies won't attack her. Finally, Hell gets a chance to attack. She hits the enemy at the back, and then she gets taunt. Now you can see enemies hitting her. Okay, so the second way I'm going to illustrate this is by putting Hell in front instead of at the back, so that when you see the enemies hitting her, she heals even though the enemies don't die, because such is her skill. Yep, so she's healing even though the enemies attacking her aren't dying, which is different from Horan, because Horan only heals if the enemies attacking her dies. Alright, so I hope that answers your question on the difference between Hell and Horan. Hopefully it's a little more clear now how they are different and how they actually perform in battle. Next question, who is better, Edin or Angelica? There's a question from Hakim. So as replied to by ZProX here, GuitarRock first, I can't remember what, GuitarRock Gaming. He changed his name from time to time, so I'm not sure. If you go over to GuitarRock's channel, he's really awesome, by the way. You guys should all watch him. When I was starting out, I watched a lot of his videos as well, so yeah, definitely, this guy's super awesome. He recently did a video, Angelica versus Edin comparison. Who is a better mercenary, I believe. What is this? So if my guide isn't detailed enough, definitely watch his video. I haven't seen it actually, that's why I got surprised when I saw this in the beginning. But yeah, he's so awesome. Anyway, as usual, let's put them side by side and compare the stats. So, at max level and max rank up, Angelica has slightly lower attack than Edin. She has slightly lower HP than Edin as well. Defense is also the same between Angelica and Edin. Let's just shift this down a bit more. Okay, yeah. Edin has way better crit rate at 65%, Angelica only has 25%, but Angelica has a slightly better crit damage percentage than Edin. Angelica also has 35% agility, whereas Edin has none. So let's talk about the skills. First of all, actually, before I mention that, Angelica is a skip mercenary. Edin hits front. So they're already pretty different on that. Regarding this, I don't think hitting front or skip with regards to Edin and Angelica make much of a difference actually. It really depends, because some people play Grand Holder in front, some people play Grand Holder at the back. It's like Lucius or Glacia, whatsoever mercenary. It always depends on your enemy's formation, so there's not really any that's better than the other. But yeah, Angelica receives her 2 tiles at plus 15, Edin receives his 2 tiles at plus 10. So Edin is going to be a bit easier to reach a certain level than Angelica. In my opinion, Angelica needs to be at least plus 12 because that's where she can potentially get 100% defense. If you want her to really be good, then though, you would then have to plus 15 her. Although in this regard, hitting 2 tiles, Edin is better than Angelica. Edin also has his share of troubles regarding his skills that Angelica is better at. So I mentioned that Angelica minimally has to be at plus 12 because at plus 12 she has this skill that boosts her defense for 65%. So that's a really important skill because 100% defense mercenaries are really important and really strong. So with her 10% base defense, that brings her defense up to 75%, which you can just cover with 1 defense rune, and you can have the other rune to be whatever you want it to be. However, for Edin, he receives only a 35% defense at plus 15. Note that at plus 14, his defense is only at 20%, so 20% plus his base 10% defense gives him 30% defense, and if you want to make him 100%, you will need 2 30% defense runes. I don't think that's possible. Maybe if you get SSS on a legendary 6-star rune, I'm not sure, but it sounds really difficult and near impossible really. But that changes when he reaches plus 15, where he gets 35% defense. So 35% plus his 10% base defense gives him 45%, which means you have 55% defense to cover for, which you can replace with 2 defense runes at 27.5% each. That will give him 100% defense, but he has to be plus 15. So comparing these two things regarding tile range and defense, I would say so far they're pretty much balanced. They're pretty much the same, right? So what are these two skills? They look exactly the same, and yes, they are pretty much exactly the same. So the only difference being Edin consumes 50% of his current HP every time he attacks. That's, yeah, and the defense difference. Otherwise, there's not much of a difference. They both have minus 70% incoming damage reduction. They also have this curse, which is exactly the same, and they also have enhancement nullifier, which is exactly the same. So we've already talked about defense, so there's not much to cover about this skill. I guess we could talk about current HP times 50% consumption, which sounds like quite a big disadvantage for Edin, but if you consider that he's going to have 100% defense anyway, reducing his current HP by 50% every time isn't going to change much about him. Also, note that this is current HP times 50% consumption, not max HP. So the first hit will bring him from 100% HP to 50% HP, and then it will be 50% of his current 50% HP, which will be 25%, which then will be 12.5%, 6.25%, so on and so forth. So he's not going to die. And from what I've noticed from these types of mercenaries, even at 1 HP, they don't die. So at 1 HP, this current HP times 50% consumption does not bring the HP down to 0. So it's really not much of a disadvantage here. Here is their damage skill. Angelica has this and Edin has this. So these are completely different skills. Edin has a HP loss rate times attack times 450% additional damage, which is a lot. HP loss rate, I believe, refers to the amount of HP he has lost. Hence, it makes sense that he has this current HP times 50% consumption. But yeah, this is a large amount of attack that isn't to be trifled with. Angelica, on the other hand, has enemies max HP times 135% additional damage, which is also a large amount of attack. You'll see them both deal damage up to like a couple of 10,000, maybe even 100,000, it depends. But there is a major difference between these two skills. So Angelica ignores enemies' incoming damage reduction and deals additional damage. So if you consider skills like Hell that we talked about before, where she had 50% reduced incoming damage, Angelica's skill is going to completely ignore that and deal the damage anyway. So Hell is not going to receive that 50% reduced incoming damage if she gets hit by Angelica. But Angelica's skill does not ignore defense. So 100% defense mercenaries like Angelica and Edin themselves will not be able to take damage from Angelica because she does not ignore defense. And that's kind of an annoying thing to deal with as an Angelica user myself. Every time it's Edin versus Angelica, Angelica always dies immediately because Edin, on the other hand, ignores damage reduction effect caused by defense. So Edin's attack actually ignores defense, but he does not ignore reduced incoming damage effects. So if Edin were to attack mercenaries like Hell with her skill of reduced incoming damage, this Hell's 50% reduced incoming damage is still going to apply when Edin attacks her. Honestly speaking, between these two, I would say that Edin's skill ignoring defense is more favorable. Note that this is just my opinion because nowadays especially, there are lots of high defense or 100% defense mercenaries out there. Dalvi, Angelica, Edin. So on these two, for arena and other purposes, I will say that I prefer Edin's skill just because he ignores defense and Angelica doesn't. But on another front, Angelica deals enemies max HP additional damage. So for mercenaries with really high reduced incoming damage, Angelica will still be better. However, in the current meta, I still feel like Edin is better than Angelica in this state. Edin also has this advanced lasting crit damage boost skill. So for 50 turns before the battle, he has an insane amount of crit damage boost, plus boosting 10% every single turn, along with 100% additional attack as well, and boosting a further 5% every turn. Cannot be removed by removal skill type. So this is going to give Edin a huge, insane attack pool, especially considering that Edin already has 65% crit rate. I think as long as he's buffed beyond turn 1, so turn 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth, he should be able to kill absolutely any mercenary that doesn't have some insane reduced incoming damage. Even so, I don't think any mercenaries have had more than 65% reduced incoming damage, and I don't think they can survive even with that. So Edin is an absolute killer after turn 2 with buffs, provided he crits. So that makes Edin even stronger on the attack front, but we also have to consider this skill. So this equivalent, or upgrade I should say, is the permanent debuff immunity of Angelica, which stats weakening immunity is kind of a subset of. So debuff immunity is just a strict upgrade over stats weakening immunity. So on this front, Angelica is definitely better. Note that Edin with only stats weakening immunity is still vulnerable to some other types of debuffs like attack interference and also damage over time, so bleeding damage, poison damage, whatsoever, shock damage as well. So yeah, Angelica is immune to all of that, but not Edin. So in this regard, Angelica is better than Edin. Okay, Last but not least, Angelica has this buff prohibition skill as well. So for 18 turns, any enemy that she attacks will be unable to receive buff skill type. Prominently, what this means in Arena usually is that if she strikes Nartis with this skill, Nartis is not going to be able to do that fast charge. So he's even a plus 12 and above Nartis has to wait one more turn before attacking again, because he can't do that simultaneous casting thing. I can't remember what it's called. But you guys know what I'm talking about. This skill is definitely something really nice to have. It also kind of blocks taunt, so if she hits Glacia before Glacia attacks, Glacia is not going to be able to taunt. Note that if Glacia already has taunt activated though, and she hits Glacia with this, Glacia's taunt will still go on. It's just that she won't be able to taunt again when she attacks while being debuffed by this skill. So this is an extra thing that Angelica has and Edin doesn't have. Okay, so considering all these things, Angelica is a lot easier to obtain because even though she's a mercenary, you can just purchase her using ancient coins. You can also get her from the Jumpstart quest, if that's what it's called, the free 6 devil one. You can get her free at +9, but for Edin is way harder to get because he can only be summoned via mileage, and you have to, if you're incredibly unlucky, you have to actually stock up, I think, 40,000 mileage, which is an insane amount to guarantee getting an Edin. So Edin is actually a lot harder to obtain than Angelica. So if you're thinking of whether to build Angelica or Edin, you have to first consider, do you even have Edin? Because I've been trying to draw for Edin as well, thinking how awesome it would be if I were to build him, but I haven't been able to obtain him, and I don't think that will even come anytime soon. So that's one thing to consider. But if you do have Edin, it will be easier to +15 him as compared to if you wanted to +15 Angelica. Meaning, companions for Edin are way easier to get than Angelica's companions, because Angelica's companions are legendary ones. You can only get them through gifts, which you can obtain one of using honor points, or you can also summon the companions via legendary recruit, but it's way harder to get than Edin's companion, where you can just summon with your normal premium scrolls, is that what it's called? And like diamonds. So it's kind of a trade-off on either one of them, but considering that Angelica needs to only be +12 to be usable, Angelica will be easier than Edin in terms of building. I think they both have their usage. Edin not being immune to attack interference is definitely something that needs to be considered, especially with Albion now giving shock damage, bringing shock damage back into the meta. I know I've won a couple of arena matches with Ludmilla actually stunning Edin and stuff like that. On that front, Angelica is better defensively, I think, but offensively, Edin does have defense ignoring damage, which can be extremely useful in the arena and some other parts of the game. Okay, so after all that I've said, overall verdict, should you choose Angelica or Edin? Now, here's my view. For Angelica, you do have the option to choose her. For Edin, you don't, because Edin you can only obtain through like sheer luck. If you are lucky to get him via mileage, then yes, go ahead and build him, especially if you haven't already built Angelica. So if you already have Angelica but you don't have Edin and you don't have enough mileage points to try, just go ahead and skill up Angelica and build her instead, because they're both really similar. They just differ on the offensive side of things and defensive side of things slightly. So yeah, you definitely should build one or the other. You could build two of them if you have both of them and if you don't have other mercenaries to prioritize before them, but that's usually only for veteran late game players. Okay, next question from Anil Angel? I'm just gonna call you Angel. Okay, how long does it take for a free-to-play player to start getting a good team and enough skill books to climb the ranks in Arena? No, I'm probably doing something wrong, but I get stuck in Silver 2 because that's where all the +9 legends start appearing from my experience so far. Okay, so I mentioned to you before that I was going to answer this in a video because my answer is going to be kind of long. So yeah, times are quite different. Back when I started playing Brown Dust last year in May, so it's been almost a year now that I've been playing. Back when I played then, I think +9 legendaries only started appearing in Sapphire. Oh, was it? No, it's not that high. I think +9 legendaries only started appearing in like Crystal or Diamond 3, somewhere along the lines of that. But yeah, you do start seeing some Octos starting from Silver or Gold. However, they're not +9, absolutely not. So back then we didn't have the 6 Devils update, whereas now we do, which everyone gets to select a +9 legendary, which is why I imagine even in Bronze or Silver, everyone has +9 legends. Back then, I think I managed to reach Sapphire without summoning a single legendary. So I actually picked Angelica back then, even before she got her update, because I thought she was useful. I got Angelica and Velfern, and I didn't have Lucius, Monier, Levia, and all those other mercenaries, especially those that you need to summon. I never summoned for them. I always believed it was more important to build strong 5 stars first. 5 stars like Benchina right now, Dalvi. Really important that you have them at +15. For legendaries, you can build them as sort of a side thing, but a team with really strong 5 stars can still outdo a team that doesn't have the core 5 stars and just like slap a couple of legendaries in there. Maybe some of them are +9, some of them are not. Like for example, if the opponent doesn't have Rephidia and like a strongly skilled up Nartis is not going to be able to kill Benchina, who is a 5 star. So 5-star mercenaries are actually pretty important. Regarding your question, I believe I'm pretty much free to play, by the way. I have purchased like the monthly pack like twice or thrice, but that's pretty much it. I think I reached Sapphire within the first 4 months, 3 to 4 months. But seeing as how things go right now with the difference in meta and everything, yeah, it sounds kind of tough for people climbing, but if you do play the game right, I think you should be able to climb to Sapphire within half a year. And a big part of that is knowing which mercenaries to invest in right now, because everyone gets the same number of resources, and for free-to-play players, I think someone mentioned as well that it's really hard to climb in Arena for free-to-play players. I don't think it's impossible by any means, because I'm largely free to play and I've reached Grandmaster in both Arena and Novice Arena, but it does take knowing what mercenaries to skill up, and I'll have a video on that soon enough. Hope that kind of answers your question for now. Next question, Sendokai272. I just want to ask you, how can I get a good world boss team? And what's a good strategy if you are free to play to be good in this game and climb the ranks in Arena? I've already answered that one. And how I manage my diamonds to get the best mercenaries for my Arena team or any place. I will address that in the next video regarding which mercenaries to prioritize. Bro, I know the questions will not be too much, but bro, keep up. Sorry, I don't know what that sentence means, but hey, you put a smiley face, so that's a good sentence. Smiley face back. Actually, yeah, let's just do that. Smiley face. Okay, so it's pretty much only the first question. So how can I get a good world boss team? So for world boss, actually something that a lot of new players, especially coming into the game, might think wrongly is that you need amazing mercenaries for world boss. The truth is you actually don't. A lot of mercenaries are going to be 3 stars and 4 stars. I would say for some of the battles, in fact, I think 90% of my mercenaries in that 12-man team are not mercenaries that are popular in the arena. They're not mercenaries that are strictly 5 stars or legendaries even. A lot of them are 3 stars and 4 stars. So if you want to get a good world boss team, you have to start out by doing this. Keep 1 copy of every single unique mercenary that you have and skill them up to the max. So +9 if their maximum is +10, +14 then if the maximum is +15, and only then using the other additional copies that you have that are pointless by now, that you can use them for rank up. Otherwise, keep them, skill them up every single mercenary, because World Boss, as I said, uses a lot of them, and you can watch a couple of guides. GuitarRock has a lot of guides on them. I might link them in the description if you want to know how to form a team. But yeah, first and foremost, you have to have the mercenaries needed. Fusion mercenaries are also pretty important. So actually, I can show you. There are a lot of mercenaries that I can point out here that are extremely not just useful but vital to World Boss that are not popular. So you definitely don't throw them away or sell them or anything. Use them for rank up. You have to keep them and skill them up. Wester is an example. He's nowhere near popular in arena meta and just in the game at the moment. But Wester is actually pretty cool for World Boss. I use him and I've obtained maximum scores in lots of World Bosses because of him. Mercenaries like him, mercenaries like Eldora. Eldora is absolutely key to one of the World Bosses, I think 2 now. But yeah, I also use Aaron, Valtor, I even use Riddell, I use... who else do I use? Yeah, I use Martina. Zaka is extremely important. Zakan, I even use him. I use Jacqueline, Grossa. So yeah, believe it or not, those mercenaries are extremely important in World Boss. They might not be popular in the game, but you have to keep them around, skill them up, just so you have them for any World Boss strategy that you need to implement. Besides that, fusion mercenaries are also pretty important. Sabrina is a key piece in transport bosses. Feral is also a key in I can't remember what exactly it's called, but it's the world boss where you have to deal damage. Feral is pretty important, Sabrina is pretty important. Also, the ones that you can get pieces to, like Kellen, I believe, what's his name? And also Jacqueline. So these guys, these 2 people, along with these 2 in World Boss are really important. So definitely build them if you want to have a strong team. And as I said, follow guides, I'll put some links in the description for you guys to watch if you want to find out how to actually do well in World Boss. Okay, finally, last question. I've been recording for like 15 minutes. Okay, so Z Pro X, why aren't you leaving your guild? You have the potential to carry, you're missing a lot of resources. Help us, asterisk, to climb if you're interested. Okay, this is a difficult question. At some point in the past, a couple of months ago, I was pretty ambitious. I was thinking to join one of the top guilds. I know that Asterisk is an extremely good guild. Right now, I believe they're like top 10, top 15, which is pretty insanely good. So I assume Z Pro, you are from Asterisk. Oh my god, rank 10, so strong. But yeah, a part of me has always wanted to join a strong guild just because I want to experience what it's like to, actually be at the forefront of guild battles and stuff like that. Right now my guild is like 100. Where is it? Waifu is Waifu. There you are. So right now my guild is at 162 rank. We have a lot of inactive members, unfortunately, as you can see, and not a lot of people attacking Guild Wars, which is, yeah. So I know it seems like it's kind of bad, but I've met a lot of nice people in my guild and it's so hard to leave them, especially for my own endeavors. I know that I'm missing out on a couple of resources, especially at the end of the season when the guild gets a lot of rewards. There's a big difference between a guild that obtains like top 10 and a guild that's in the hundreds. So yeah, I do get that, but at the same time, okay, that finally does it for answering all your questions. I feel so relieved that I'm finally making the video now after 1 week. Keeping you guys waiting just makes me feel so bad. But yeah, upcoming video, I'm gonna be talking about mercenary priorities, which mercenaries are in the meta right now if you want to climb an arena, which mercenaries should you focus on, which legendaries should you focus on, so on and so forth. So I hope that video won't take as long as this one to come out. I will definitely try my best. Anyway, see you guys in the next video. Bye!